Well, specifically, if you're talking about certain means-tested welfare programs like food stamps, SNAPs, what happens is the benefits you get from government are more than could be earned if you get off of welfare, meaning you're incentivized to
No,
stay
they're
on
not.
welfare rather than get a job for yourself.
How much is food stamps a month? How a single person on food stamps? How much do they get a month?
Well, currently, SNAP monthly payment for one person is, let's say, $1,000, $869 a month. $1,869
Where'd
a
you pull
month.
that from?
www.snapscreamer.com. Snap LG.
The average monthly benefit is $126 a month. The maximum is $194 a month. You just said people can get SNAP benefits and get more than they can earn.
Yeah, Snap and WIC are two programs.
Like, what else can you get?
Yeah, I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, because there's not. There's not all these government programs handing out money to poor people. This is what I'm trying to educate you on. JustinFREAKIN is in. Panda Man 123. You like pandas? Are you a sad panda?
I'm a panda, but I'm not a sad panda. So no. Last time you were asking, you said
You don't sound like somebody that makes epic gains.
What?
You don't sound like, and it's wrong of me to stereotype, but you just don't sound like somebody who makes epic gains.
Okay, so, and what's your
you're
point?
coming in here talking like this. Usually, you know, manly men, we got the deep voices.
Yeah, it's a Twitch name, dumbass. What's your point?
Well, you know, usually Twitch.
You're not freaking.
Do what?
You're not freaking. Your name's JustinFREAKIN. So what's your point?
Oh no! All of my friends would tell you if anybody has earned the right to call themselves JustinFREAKIN, it is totally me. They will tell you it 100% fits me. But okay, go on.
Yeah, you bitched when I didn't want to call it, and now do you have a topic, or did you just want me to call in to dunk on me?
What do you want? What do you want to talk about? See, I usually let the right wingers like what do you think you can school me on?
Well, you said all right-wingers are morons, which is a pretty absurd statement on its face, and I don't know how to engage with that, since it's not something to debunk, it's an opinion. You can't, it's a non-falsifiable statement. What is or isn't a moron is subjective, so I don't really know how to engage with that. If
No, you're even coming at it the wrong way, because the way you say that would be it's a logical fallacy. I made a hasty generalization, but my retort to that would be like...
No, it's not a generalization, it's an opinion. If you define moron a certain way that's different than how I define moron, then that's just an opinion. There's no way to get it. Moron is...
There aren't moron... There are not multiple ways to define moron. A moron is a stupid person. A person of low intelligence.
I mean, what do you mean by low intelligence? I mean, you said all right-wingers are morons. I mean,
yes.
I would imagine someone like Ben Shapiro has like over 100 plus IQ, so...
Okay, good point. Okay, I will concede, so... I don't think Ben Shapiro is stupid. Also, like, IQ doesn't matter. IQ is just a measure of how...
Well, you said someone with low intelligence. No,
Hold on. Ben Shapiro is not a stupid person. Ben Shapiro plays to stupid people. Ben Shapiro knows exactly what he's doing and is employing propaganda in order to play to stupid people. And probably knows that his audience is really fucking stupid.
Well, first of all, that would debunk the idea that all right-wingers are morons, which is your original assertion. So, yes, it would.
So I do need to make a caveat. The only way that you can subscribe to a right-wing position is to either be stupid or to be rich.
I see. And why is that? You can't advocate for a policy that's either not in your self-interest?
Okay, so right wing, let's parse this out right here. Okay, so a right wing, a conservative, is trying to conserve the status quo. Correct?
Not really. If you're in the Soviet Union, would you be a conservative?
In our political lexicon, the right is to preserve the status quo. And then the left is progressives.
So if a progressive is someone who wants to alter, was Ronald Reagan a progressive since he massively cut taxes and government spending?
That's the conservative position. And did he cut government spending?
Yeah. Well, he cut at least welfare spending. So yeah, he massively.
He cut welfare spending.
Yes, that was massively.
And he ballooned the debt, didn't he? Cut taxes on rich people, cut off poor people, gave money to rich people. That's the conservative position, is it not?
I mean, generally, yes. The right is more against taxes and more.
No, they're not against taxes. They want the middle class and the working class to pay the taxes.
But your point is that conservatives want to conserve, and I'm giving you an example of
only one. Yes, they're wanting to conserve their power. They're wanting to conserve their wealth. We live in a capitalist society.
No, conserve means stay the same. Us staying the same with us keeping our welfare program, not cutting them or massively reducing them at least. So if by conservative you just mean wanting to cut taxes, then yeah. But if by conservative you just mean...
But they don't want to cut taxes. They want to shift the tax burden to the people that aren't them. Yes, conservatives are regressive.
Wait, I have a question. Is that changing the country, yes or no?
Oh my God. See, now you're getting pedantic about this.
Okay. So
God damn.
I mean, the way you define upholding status quo is, and either way, like, for instance, you can look at various policies that liberals advocate for, which increase inequality.
Like what?
For instance, higher regulations disproportionately hurt smaller businesses and consolidate disproportionate wealth
based on what?
Into what?
Based on what?
Because generally, regulations cost businesses to spend money, and the majority of businesses in the U.S. are small businesses, being disproportionately.
Whoa! The majority of businesses in the U.S. are small business?
Yes, the overwhelming majority, actually. I think.
Well, that's because there's consolidation. There's like fucking 7 major corporations.
There's 7 major corporations. What are you even talking about? Dude, there's 7 corporations of what industry? What are you talking about?
7 corporations run like 80% of the fucking actual business in this country.
Do you have a statistic on that?
Yeah.
Okay, then send me it.
Hold on. I don't even know how this is even like argued. Do you know who BlackRock is?
They are I believe, an investment company.
Yeah.
Yeah, do they own the majority of any market? I don't think so.
They don't own the majority, but they own equity in like fucking 90% of the fucking economy.
No, I mean, so
I don't know. I'd have to it's hard to Google things while you're trying to have a discussion and shit.
Okay, so I guess a roundabout way of getting to my point that when it comes to policies that encourage more regulations, because regulations cost compliance cost on businesses, and because small businesses disproportionately can't afford compliance costs compared to big businesses, this is an example where a liberal policy might consolidate.
What do you mean? Okay, so why is a regulation in place?
For various reasons. It could be to protect consumers, to protect the environment, just because it's
to protect consumers or to protect the environment. Are those bad things to you?
It depends on the regulation.
Well, give me one that it's a bad one. Give me a regulation that's a bad one.
If you want to give me an example of a bad regulation, I would say some of the policies in terms of, the NEPA, National Environmental Policy Act, where they have to go to environmental reviews, are pretty excessive, where they can spend years on end on an infrastructure project going to environmental attorneys.
Okay. Okay, so we're running out of wetlands. If we're trying to build a factory near wetlands, and this is an issue because if you have too much asphalt and concrete in an area, you're prone to flooding because you don't have the wetlands to soak it up, right? So if we need to study this to make sure that we're not having a really bad impact on the environment, why is that a bad thing?
You can do environmental reviews. I just mean it's gotten excessive. You know that.
How do you know this?
What do you? How do I notice? You want me to send you studies showing that they massively delay infrastructure?
And who did
projects?
these studies, my friend?
I can send you some if you want.
Probably a right-wing think tank owned by billionaires. Now, why would they want that opinion?
Presumably, if they're an industry, because it's cost more money for them.
Okay,
This
so
isn't a
let me
study.
flip this around on you. 3M dumped a shit ton of chemicals in the Tennessee River.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that specifically if they're
And the regulations that we have in place right now didn't stop 3M from dumping a shit ton of chemicals in the Tennessee River. And boy, are they fighting the EPA right now about cleaning it up. Now, do you think that's a good thing that a company skipped out on, it would be more expensive to properly deal with the waste than it was to just dump it in the Tennessee River. But yet we all have to pay the price for that,
Yeah, so ideally, it's just in my ideal world.
Do you know what Cancer Alley is?
Cancer Alley?
Yes, in the U.S. there is a place called Cancer Alley.
Maybe I've heard it in the past.
It runs down from Pittsburgh all the way down through Appalachia and into East Tennessee. Do you know why it's called Cancer Alley?
Presumably because this is cancer because of petrochemicals or whatever.
Has the highest rates of cancer in the country because of all the fucking factory and industry that are on the rivers.
Yeah, so some environmental abuse happens. Does this mean that there's no such thing as a regulation that goes too far?
I'm sure, but I doubt you could name one because I doubt you know anything enough about the issue. And I think that you're probably paying attention to right-wing propaganda written by billionaires who want to keep dumping chemicals in the river. I don't give a shit about those motherfuckers that want to make as much money as they can dumping shit in the river. I give a shit about the kids that get cancer in eastern Kentucky.
Okay, yeah, as I said, if there's like actual environmental issues, and yeah, we'll deal with that. I mean, here's the study.
But my argument is that the regulations that are in place are actually woefully inadequate to deal with environmental issues. We need more regulation.
It depends on the regulation.
Well, you can't even give me one. You can't tell me one specific one.
Here's an article on the Cato Institute. Okay, never mind. I could send it. I could send it to you.
And who wrote that article? That's the first thing I'm going to ask. Who funded that article?
No clue. Whoever funds the Cato Institute. So
Cato Institute. There you go. I don't even have to look it up and tell you it's the Koch brothers. It's the Mercers fund the Cato Institute. They are a far-right think tank run by business people. I care about citizens. That's what government is, my friend. Government is the way we take care of society. So
mainly, the main issue is if you are concerned about, say, building more accessible infrastructure, if there are certain regulations or policies in place that are, say, too expensive for and lead to waste in the infrastructure, then you need to get rid of them, right? If you're actually concerned about, say, something like that to help your citizens, then
I am concerned about big industry dumping chemicals, and they're like, you're saying there's too much regulation, and I am telling you that I can show you the fucking fact that there is not enough regulation. And I can tell you that regulation does indeed. Hold on. I can tell you that regulation does indeed work because the Ohio River used to catch fire in the 70s. Acid rain in California was a thing in the 90s. And we put regulation on industry, and industry has been fighting it ever since because they didn't like that we did that.
Yeah, so there are some regulations on industry that might work, and there's some that don't, right?
What are the ones that don't?
I just gave you an example of excessive environmental reviews and lawsuits.
You said that, but you haven't actually provided...
I gave you I cited an example...
from the Cato Institute. I don't give a shit what business has to say. I want I want something that's an academic. And see, this is one of the reasons why right-wingers attack education so much. I want something that's not biased towards industry because that's the money that's paying them. And right-wingers hate the eggheads at the colleges that do all these papers that say the opposite of what they want to be true.
I mean, what do you mean right-wingers attack?
Right-wingers attack education constantly.
Most of them are for privatizing it. If you define
They're for privatizing. They want to make money off of it, and they want to control the content. They don't want a robust public-funded education, because that will give you a well-rounded liberal arts education, and then you don't fall for right-wing bullshit. Because educated people tend to be more liberal, more leftist, because right-wingers are morons.
I mean, that's a
You have to be stupid to believe right-wing bullshit.
Yeah, that's a correlation, not causation, because...
No. To you, it sounded good that regulation is hurting business and everything, but you've never actually thought about this. You've never critically examined the sources you've been looking at.
Yes, I gave you an article, and you just...
The Cato Institute.
Yes. Okay.
Not relative. So if I'm arguing against business being able to pollute, why would I read some paper that was written by the people who are wanting to pollute?
It wasn't written by the people who wanted to pollute.
The Cato Institute is absolutely funded by the Mercers and the Koch brothers.
Okay, and...
Koch industry. The Mercers made their money off of like natural gas and oil.
He funds a study on vaccines because he has, which proves that vaccines work. Does that prove vaccines don't work?
I don't think Bill Gates has funded a fucking study about vaccines. Vaccines work because we have plenty of data showing that they work.
Yes, you're right. We do have data showing that, and I'm giving you data, and you're dismissing this data.
Yes, I'm dismissing the source because the Cato Institute is not a reputable source. Why would, if they are the people who are wanting to pollute the rivers, why would I listen to them about polluting the rivers? They have an economic interest, do they not? These are business interests that fund Cato.
So I'm going to give you an example that is could be considered if the Gates Foundation wanted to fund a study which is showing that...
Fuck the Gates Foundation. Fuck them. They fucked up education. They funded studies about education, and their studies found out, oh shit, we did the wrong thing.
Okay, then yeah, I mean, if you want to...
I wouldn't listen to the Gates Foundation anyway. No. What I accept as reputable is when you give me what is called a peer-reviewed scholarly article, and it's usually going to have like 5 people's names, and then it's going to say et al.
So, this is a state-level thing on California. It's this CEQA, which is based off of the national NEQA. It's called Hastings Environmental Law Journal. Jennifer Hernandez, she's an environmental attorney, explaining waste in CEQA. CEQA is based off of national NEPA, and how CEQA in California, which is based off of national NEPA regulations, causes waste. So yeah.
Okay, post that in the Discord. Oh, you sent me a private message. Is that the last one you posted there?
Yeah, it's Hastings Law Journal.
California Environmental Quality Act continues to play a vital role in ensuring that our state and local agencies carefully evaluate, disclose, and avoid or reduce the potential adverse environmental consequences of their actions. However, in recent years, most QA lawsuits filed in California seek to block infill housing and transit-oriented land use plans. Ooh. See, this is coming from the liberal side. This that you just cited is telling me that industry is starting to use it to block liberal projects.
Then yeah, so if you can understand how, say, businesses would abuse certain liberally passed regulations to consolidate wealth.
Well, then we just change the regulations so business can't abuse them. That isn't an argument against regulation. Horrible example, my friend. Horrible example.
No, it shows that certain regulations pushed by liberals can backfire on...
It literally said in the thing that you sent me that had been a good regulation. And that here's an issue with it. Here's an issue with it that we need to address. That's not the same as this regulation is bad. You look stupid. Right-wingers are morons.
No, I was just giving you an example of where a regulation can be good, but it can go too far and actually backfire on its process. Right?
Okay, but the paper was saying regulation good, we just need to tweak it. That's what you sent me. That's not an argument against regulations.
Well, specifically this regulation, the main issue with is it that the way it's structured makes it so way plaintiffs can abuse it by suing developers instead of like they don't have to have a just cause to sue to begin with. So that's an example of how the structured regulation causes abuse. And if so, then we might need to talk about reforming the way lawsuits even work in this specific context.
And what's your proposal?
My proposal is if someone wants to get an environmental review, they have to show some level of discovery beforehand that this is going to cause actual potential environmental harms.
Was that her proposal in the paper?
I mean, it's my proposal. I don't know what's her.
But like, what's your okay? What's your background?
High school.
You've only graduated high school.
No, I'm in high school.
You're in high school. What makes you think you know anything about this topic?
I mean, what makes anyone anywhere qualified in the topic that they don't happen to be a part of? I'm looking into something that's relevant.
I have a degree in communications and philosophy. My job is to sniff out bullshit.
Yes, and is there anything bullshit about my proposal?
I mean, I don't know. I'd have to read up on the subject, but you seem awfully sure of yourself when you're a high school little know-nothing and don't have a background in the... If you don't know anything about environmental law, why would you try to make proposals about environmental law?
I know what I read on it.
And what you read predominantly comes from the Cato Institute. Oh, they're wanting me to hang up on you now.
And here's an environmental article that I also read, so... Okay.
Yeah. I shared it with the chat there, and that it didn't make the argument that you wanted to make. My friend, okay.
I made the argument that this is an example of regulation that went too far, which is my point this entire time.
No, that is not what that paper said. That is you misconstruing the argument. The paper said it's a fantastic regulation, but is being abused in this way. So that's a policy carve-out that we might need to address, and that's the reason why she wrote the paper. Your dumbass in high school doesn't know enough to have an opinion on that, and that definitely does not say that regulation is bad.
Okay, well, you want an example of how a liberal regulation can cause inequality? I gave you an example. Okay. Good talking to you.
Can cause inequality. You did not give me an example.
This is an example of it causing inequality.
Oh my, now, how did it... Okay, do you care about inequality?
Well, I care when the government is actively telling individuals that they have to have inequality through regulations. I mean, I think in general, if you allow people to do what they want, that ideally they would strive to have better their lives, and ideally they wouldn't have government telling them.
My friend, if you let people do what they want, they will scam everybody.
And I already said it's nuanced. Somewhere there's a different.
Here is what I want you to do: is to fucking read the history of this country.
Yeah, I just gave you an example of...
I want you to read the history of this country, from lead and gasoline to fucking slaughterhouse to fucking... You should pick up Howard's... You're in high school. Howard's Inn, A People's History of the United States.
Okay, I mean, if I reads Howard's Inn, I mean, he's definitely biased, but okay.
How is he biased?
He describes himself as someone politically on the left. I would imagine by definition that's gonna bias him to the left.
But yet you didn't think the Cato Institute was biased. You fucking idiot.
Yeah, they are biased. That doesn't mean I'm gonna dismiss them. Just like I'm not gonna dismiss them. I'm just saying it could be inaccurate.
He's an academic.
Okay, then it's probably gonna be accurate. Then I'll try and read. But currently I don't have this book, so I don't know how much it costs.
You're gonna try to... I think it's available for free online. You can download the fucking PDF.
Okay, Howard's Inn. What's the name?
A People's History of the United States.
Okay.
I mean, what that's going to tell you is it... Because you've never heard of the Ludlow Mining Massacre, have you?
No.
You don't know about the Battle for Blair Mountain.
It says it says it's 1330. Sounds $13. People's History of...
I'm pretty sure you can find it for free. Type in free PDF.
Okay, I can find it for free. Okay, files. Okay.
But like you don't know the struggles. You don't know what we have went through. You don't know about Teapot Dome. You don't know about robber barons. You don't fucking know the history of this fucking country. Do you?
Yes, I've heard of the robber barons.
Do you know how we fixed that issue? Do you know how we had to break up Standard Oil? We had to break up AT&T.
I mean, we didn't have to. That was a choice by the president. I mean, what you have to do is subjective, but yeah. Yes, we did break up Standard Oil and we did break up AT&T.
And it was a good thing. Let me tell you, my friend, do you know what the most prosperous time in the history of this country was?
I mean, in terms of life expectancy nowadays. So.
It's actually not. My generation has a lower life expectancy. Yours has a lower life expectancy than the generations that came before us. Because of obesity, heart disease, and predominantly opioids. We actually have a lower life expectancy now. Thanks, Reagan.
Yeah, which generation would it be then?
We were the most prosperous from the 50s through the 70s.
Okay. Yeah, well, we didn't have phones, a lot of modern
We had phones in the 50s,
social media. So there's a lot of things in my personal quality of life that would not have been available in the 50s and 70s.
You could buy a house. The middle class could buy a house on one income in the 50s, motherfucker.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And nowadays people disproportionately rent more than they used to, and so that's less of an issue nowadays.
Well, you act like that's like they're making the decision to rent, not that they were forced into that, and that was a public policy issue.
I mean,
motherfucker, I'd love to own a house. A mortgage would be far, far, far cheaper than all the rent I have paid. It is out of my reach.
Well, if you talk about housing policy, I think some of the excessive zoning regulations are an issue, and I think if you build more
zoning regulations, you dumb motherfucker. You think zoning regulations are the issue. This is why I call right-wingers morons.
So
you have been convinced that all of your problems are the cause of the government.
In apartments and other forms of multifamily housing and duplexes, and because of that, when you have an artificial increase in the amount of...
You listen to far too many right-wing chuds on YouTube, and you don't fucking know anything.
You know there are a lot of liberals who are critical of single-family zoning regulations as well, right?
That's a different issue.
Yeah, I gave you an example of how I personally fixed housing policy by...
That would not fix housing policy. Oh my god.
Yeah, I gave you an example that single-family housing is more expensive than apartments, yes or no? Is it cheaper to rent an apartment, or is it cheaper to get a mortgage in a single-family house?
A mortgage is far cheaper.
A mortgage is cheaper than renting
yes. Yes, most people pay like $300-400 for a mortgage for a nice house. I've been paying like $800-900 a month for rent.
And
you don't have any idea how the world works.
And have you ever considered why people are opting out of single-family housing nowadays? More so than they're renting more?
I have. It is a policy decision.
What policy specifically has encouraged that?
Deregulation, predominantly. But like,
which regulation was gotten rid of that led to an increase in renting? You just gonna say that?
Well, you just said everything else you've said.
Yeah, I gave you an example of why I want to increase the houses supply, because the law of supply and demand shows when you have an increase in supply, then presumably...
Motherfucker, did you know there's more houses sitting empty in this country than there are people?
Yeah, which is why ideally...
So you're like, well, we build more houses. Do you see how stupid you are?
Yes, build more multifamily housing and build more apartments. We need fewer houses in more rentable, dense urban living areas. Since those are cheaper, especially in abundance.
They're not cheaper. They're owned by corporate entities. Because this isn't just like, I can't point to you a deregulation or some regulations they've lifted. This has to do with consolidation. There are like, what you don't realize is, like,
Yeah,
there's
and I don't
not
care
some
about
mom and
consolidation.
pop
I'm not
owning
envious
a
of people
apartment
who-
over here. These are corporate complexes. Most of them have BlackRock invested in them.
Yeah, and why am I supposed to care? What did BlackRock ever do to me? Did they
Bribed up the cost of the housing stock.
Really? You have a study on it that BlackRock-owned properties are more likely to be than non-BlackRock-owned properties?
Did you get where I said most apartment complexes are corporate ran?
Yes. Okay. So, yes. Okay. If I can see the majority of apartments are owned in part by BlackRock, does that prove that's a negative thing?
Well, we have a problem with housing. We have a problem with homelessness in this country.
Yes, ideally.
So let me ask you a question. If your parents were to kick you out at 18, and there's not a place in your town that's less than $1,000 a month, McDonald's pays what, $12, $13 an hour now? Are you going to be able to afford that?
I mean, ideally, I'm trying to go to college, but my parents wouldn't kick me out if I went to community college or something.
But I'm just in this situation. Say you have a bad home life. Say you're a trans kid. Your parents hate your guts. They've even kicked you out before 18.
Yeah, that would suck for me, and
yeah, it would suck, wouldn't it? And then all the apartments are over $1,000, and there aren't jobs that actually pay
at least
enough to live.
There are apartments you can get. I live in New Orleans, and some of the areas around me, you could probably get for $700, $800, especially if you move down to Lafayette or something.
No.
I mean, this is where I live, so don't know where you're.
No, you're wrong. Everybody in the chat is like, nope, that's wrong. If you can find an apartment for under $1,000 a month, that's cheap. And landlords have been raising rent.
Would that not decrease this? Would that not decrease the cost of housing? Because by definition, the more you build of something, the less it costs.
We have more houses than we have people who are homeless.
Yeah, I'm saying I don't want houses. I want more apartments. I'm not asking to build more houses. I'm asking to build more apartments.
Why do you want people stuck renting?
Because if you build more rentable areas.
Why? Okay, people renting aren't building equity. That's how you build wealth in your life.
I mean, yeah, owning a house.
So if I'm paying rent, I'm not owning anything. So I'm not building wealth. So we're creating a serf class with renters.
I mean, there's other forms of wealth, like your personal property, your car.
Your personal property is your fucking house, dude. That's how you build wealth and equity.
Yeah, there are other forms.
If you are renting, you are paying that money to someone else, and you are losing out because you are not gaining. Because like housing here, this is another thing going back to following Reagan and deregulation and everything in the housing market. People have been using their houses as like this investment tool, and like I don't know enough about economics to be able to explain it, and how Fannie and Freddie fucking work, and how mortgages have been packed into these credit default swaps. So Wall Street has been playing the slot machine with people's equity in their houses. This is what the housing crisis of 2008 is all about.
I think one of the bigger issues is the fact that
I think one of the bigger issues with you is you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Okay. Another issue is when the Fed pumps too much money, has a more liberal monetary policy, this increases investment that is completely speculative and not necessarily...
See, I agree with you there, but why does the Fed print more money?
Because ideally to encourage investment, but that usually fails because it's usually not.
No. The Fed increases the money supply to keep the game going, my friend. The Fed increases the money supply because they refuse to tax rich people. So when you have
my ideal,
shut the fuck up and let me talk.
Okay.
Shut up. When you have Elon Musk, you have Bill Gates, you have all these 700 fucking billionaires sucking all the money out and sitting on it, it brings the economy to a halt. So the Fed has to print more money in order to keep the economy going. So we as a country actually have to tax the rich people to get that money back, or the Fed has to print money, but that devalues the dollar and causes inflation. So you are correct. It is a bad thing when the Fed prints money, but it has to do it to keep the economy going, absent taxing rich people.
Yeah, but if you had if you moved to hard money standard, then there would be an objective.
Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. You've been listening to right-wing fucking nonsense. A hard money standard.
Yeah, people would still be able to invest in things if there was a hard money based on.
Do you even know what you do? How do you know anything about fucking finance?
I mean, mostly from what I've listened to, read.
You've been listening to right-wing fucking idiots on YouTube that are funded by billionaires that get you to think this way so that you follow the policy that they want that makes them richer and fucks you over. This is why I call right-wingers morons.
Okay, well, if you want to specifically I'm referencing, there's an economist named Peter Schiff who talks about this.
I don't give a economists are the dumbest fucking people. Never listen to an economist. They don't know what they're talking about.
Okay. Well, so if you want to know what hard money is, right now we have what's.
I know what hard money is, stupid shit.
And if you have hard,
you're talking about like the gold standard, or as the proposal was to go to the silver standard. I know the fucking history of the country. I know what we're talking about here. It's irrelevant. You can't tell me why you think hard money would fix our problems. What you're saying isn't an answer to the problem I presented to you.
Circulation. You can't print more money, which you can't artificially inflate the currency.
So you would have to tax rich people, wouldn't you?
Why? Why? Because they would have more money. Why?
Exactly. That's where the money is. So if the rich people take all the money and there's no money for us here,
people don't have all the money here.
They do.
In the economy. I mean, there's plenty of middle class and poor people who have some level of money. I mean,
what guys? Give me the statistic. The top 1% owns what? 90-something%.
And also, if we privatized the Fed more, to where it was.
Fed is private.
It didn't have a monopoly.
The Fed is private.
Interest rates would be set.
The Fed is private.
Right now, what?
Fed is private.
Well, it's quasi-governmental, so the government.
It's private. The Fed is private. The top 1% hold $10 trillion in net worth.
Compared to the rest of the population?
The top 1% owns 32% of the nation's wealth. The share of wealth held by the bottom 90% of Americans has declined. 1% gained $6.5 trillion over the last year. They are just sucking money from you, and you don't even realize it. And you're like, see, money is finite, and that's what you're not realizing. Wealth is finite.
Yeah, well, there's this also a way you can increase the money supply that would be more effective than having. So the way interest rates currently are set by the Fed, and they have a monopoly over what's called minimum interest rates. So
you're in high school. What do you know about interest rates?
Again, what I've read and heard, but you want me to get
what you've read and heard from what? Ben Shapiro, Steven Crowder, fucking.
Do you want me?
The Mises Institute, Cato.
No, it's not Cato. Do you want me to get to my point? Yes or no? So
okay, make your point.
Okay, can I get to my point? Okay, the way the Fed sets interest rates, they can create minimum interest rates that private banks have to loan out. So say, for instance, you're JP Morgan or your Goldman Sachs, and you're going to give...
What was the interest rate in 2006?
The interest rate in 2006? I don't know that specific part.
If you don't even know that shit, then why do you think you know what interest rates
I'm telling you what how the interest rate is set. You're not... If you want me to listen to my point and you don't want to keep interrupting, listen. I mean, if you're going to keep interrupting, I don't see what the purpose of engaging is. So the point is, the Fed currently sets interest rates that is a minimum interest rate that the banks have to follow. Now, generally, the way Fed will usually do too low interest rates. So the issue when you have lower interest rates is because it encourages spending and it increases inflation, etc. Ideally, in time of recession, you want as high interest rates as possible to discourage as much investment and to as well as to decrease inflation and also.
So cool. You're cool with Biden raising interest rates. You think that's a good policy then?
Yeah, I mean, ideally he'd interest rate it even more, and ideally he wouldn't have.
But like, who are you to say that? Do you think you know better than Jerome Powell?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what Jerome Powell is, but ideally, I would.
Did you just say you don't know who Jerome Powell is?
Minimum interest rate.
Did you just say you don't know who Jerome Powell is?
Yes, no, I know who Jerome Powell is. He's the guy at the Federal Reserve. He knows more about economics than I am. That doesn't make me opinion.
Well, at least you knew he was the guy at the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Yes, at least.
Well, there's Jerome Powell, Janet Yellen, who is it?
This is the Treasury Secretary. You don't even know what these positions are, do you?
Wait, I thought Janet Yellen used to work at the Federal Reserve.
She probably did.
Yeah, so previously under previous administrations it was Janet Yellen, and now it's Jerome Powell. He's the guy at the Fed. So yeah, I mean these people know more than I do. Are you dismissing my point because of that?
Yes, I am dismissing your point because you're an idiot.
Then we're just running back in circles.
Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm actually not running in circles with you. They told me to hang up on you like a half hour ago. I am trying to convince you to not have such strong opinions about shit you don't know about.
And you have no economics degree. You have no degree in any of this shit. So
didn't I say that?
Then what's the point of engaging in politics to begin with if you know as much as I do?
Well, no, I know how to evaluate claims. That's what my degree is in. I know how to logic my way through things. That's what I do.
Okay, and can you listen to my logical argument and debunk it because you didn't.
Do you know the rules of logical analysis? The rules of logical inference? Do you know what they are?
No, explain it to me. I'm an idiot.
Well, no, there's a whole set of rules. They're called the rules for logical inference. You know, it's the fallacies that you have to learn, so you don't actually,
fallacies. Well, there are certain fallacies. Yeah, I know what a fallacy is.
Oh, cool. Do you know their names, and can you name them all?
Strawman's an example. Of fallacy. I think, what is it? The Mott Bailey.
Cool. You know a couple of them. I was trained in them to be able to spot them and call out bad arguments. Have I made any fallacies so far? But if you were telling me that you were logically putting forward an argument, wouldn't that require you to be well versed in logic?
No, I mean,
when you're putting forward, like, I think this policy would be better at the Fed. Like, don't you have to have some familiarity with the topic?
Yes, I explain what my familiarity is.
But all you're doing is regurgitating. Hold on.
Claim, not by who gives it.
Are you having a rational thought of your own, or are you regurgitating things that you've heard from right-wing commentators that you haven't critically thought about?
I'm having a rational thought of my own. Now, can I give my argument, or are you just gonna?
I don't think you are, because every time I ask you where this comes from, you tell me it's something I heard.
Okay, well, can I give my argument yes or no? This is a yes or no, and if not, then I think it's time to end the debate.
Okay, what's your argument?
Okay, so the way the Fed operates is they loan out banks, and they set monetary policy. Monetary policy is the interest rates and everything that goes on with the Fed, and they currently control it. So they have a lot of regulatory power at the banks, right? Now, currently, there are a couple of tactics they can do. They can do quantitative easing. Now, in my opinion, most of the monetary issues in terms of inflation come from practices such as, do you know what quantitative easing is?
Yes, it's giving free money to fucking Wall Street.
Yes, so ideally, I'm
against that.
Yeah, I would ideally end the Fed and have private banks determine their own interest rates in their own currency, and they can either do a gold standard, a silver standard, or they can do crypto, or they can do fractional reserve banking, where they take in some loans and loan out to Zeus. Do you know what fractional reserve lending is?
Whoa. I don't think you know a fractional reserve. I mean, you kind of got it right, but that's the current system that we have. The Fed makes a loan to a private bank, and then a bank loans out 10% of that.
Yeah,
10% of the reserves or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, and ideally, instead of a centralized Fed, it would be a bunch of decentralized private banks. So Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, etc. would be in charge of our monetary policy, not Jerome Powell.
So you think Goldman Sachs, who pretty much is in charge of our monetary policy at this moment in time, you look at the revolving door of people in and out of administrations. The people that were working at Goldman Sachs go into and it's both administrations, both parties, it's Republicans and Democrats alike. They're all staffed with Goldman Sachs bankers. They are setting the monetary policy. You are seeing what they want. You are seeing Goldman Sachs' ideal policy right now. And it's to fuck you over. You put way too much faith in private industry, my friend. See, this is that right-wing propaganda. I have power over the government. I have no power over Goldman Sachs. I want Goldman Sachs to be far, far less powerful.
Yeah, well, I think the issue is right now, since the Fed has they have a monopoly, they have regulatory power, since the Congress.
The problem is it shouldn't be a private, quasi-private, public thing. The government should have total control.
No, I'm saying the government should have less control. It's actually the issue. Too much control. The Federal Reserve is too public. It needs to be completely abolished and then have.
Well, that's wrong, because the chairmen of the boards are all fucking sitting at all these private banks. So, the fuck are you talking about?
The Federal Reserve as an institution has a monopoly.
You're not understanding that corporations are the ones with the power right now, and that they've all inserted themselves into our government. That's the problem.
Yes, and that's the issue with corporatism, not the issue with capitalism.
Parse that one out for me, man.
So corporatism, if you want to know, is
if I am operating in capitalism in what is going to make me the most money, then doesn't the system encourage me to make the Cato Institute that's going to put out propaganda on my behalf? Doesn't the system encourage me to plant my fucking seeds into the government to make sure that they're not regulating me too heavy? It's not corporatism, that's literally capitalism.
Do corporations fund studies or whatever that might be beneficial to them? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but my point in this specifically is that I don't like the fact that the Fed has the monopoly over issuing currency. Ideally, we'd go back to a free banking system, and we've had free banking systems in numerous countries. I think Scotland's had one before, and other countries where it would be private banks could create their own currency.
And do you know why? Have you read about the 20s, my friend? Have you read what caused the Great Depression?
Great Depression?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what the Great Depression
all the shit that led to the Great Depression. What you are advocating for is the same policy.
We've had the Fed since Woodrow Wilson, which was significantly predated FDR.
I can't with you, dude. They're really wanting me to hang up on you because, this is just you're not well versed enough to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you brought up the Great Depression, and we had the Federal Reserve since Woodrow Wilson.
I'm not concerned about the Fed. I'm concerned about corporate power.
So you think corporate power is what led to the Great Depression?
Yes.
Okay,
it is what is leading to all our problems right now. Goldman Sachs is way too powerful. And if you think that Goldman Sachs isn't too powerful, that they need more power, you're a moron. I can't help you.
Yeah, don't like a lot of the regulatory
You don't
bodies.
like the government because you have been listening to right-wing propaganda that tells you to hate the government because that's the thing that is standing in their way of being able to extort as much money as they can out of
Wait,
you.
so if Goldman Sachs is in power and Goldman Sachs benefit from having less government oversight, then how come we haven't abolished the Fed yet?
They run the Fed.
Yeah, and that's the issue where you have government and business in bed. That's an issue.
And you think abolishing the Fed would fix that?
Well, that would give, presumably, private corporations less influence over the government, since there'd be less of the government they would be able to influence.
No, it would give them way more power.
Yeah, but
You're wanting Goldman Sachs to make fucking monetary policy. And they already do.
Yeah, so if you
Mm-hmm.
privatize it, then you'd have competition. They wouldn't be able to influence government and
buddy, this idea of competition, this is what every right-winger, it's an appeal to emotion is what it is. Competition, it doesn't actually happen in the real world. What you have is companies, what do they call it when they're in collusion with each other in order to make sure the price doesn't dip below a certain amount? Or they consolidate. That's a problem with. There is no fucking competition because all of the companies in this country have consolidated. We need to break up the monopolies.
Well, if you get rid of the barriers and the excessive regulations, then this means small businesses won't have as much.
You're saying that the barrier is regulation, and I'm telling you it's the exact opposite. We've seen what deregulation does. We have been in a mode of cutting taxes and deregulating for the last 50 years, and it hasn't worked. I want to go back to what did work in the 50s through the 70s.
We increased social spending with Medicare Part D. We increased taxes in the Obama administration.
Shut the fuck up.
EPA.
Shut the fuck. Like, I can't help you, man. Like, I'm glad you're willing to have conversations and shit, but like you're like refusing to see it because you come to a conclusion. You have come to a conclusion and you're arguing backwards. You're in high school, my friend. You shouldn't have conclusions. You should be open and willing to learn about things. And I'm trying to point you in the direction of the things that you need to read to actually get a proper education, as opposed to listening to right-wing commentators that are paid by corporations to get you to think the way you do.
Okay, so if you want me to read Howardson's book, okay, whatever, I'll check it out maybe
Yes,
later.
please. And that's just a good jumping off point. It's made for like an advanced placement high schooler or an entry level college class. So that's why I recommend it. But I mean, it's long, man. It's long because it's detailed and it's going to go into the history of the people who have been exploited. The history of the people who have been exploited. See, I don't think you're not from a your family isn't poor, are they?
Like upper middle class.
There you go. You don't really know what the struggle is like for poor people in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I've known poor people in New Orleans as a pretty.
I don't give a shit that you know poor, but you don't know what it's like to be poor. See, right-wingers have a right-wingers think you can just walk into a government office and get a handout. They think there's too many people on welfare.
I do think there's issues with the health welfare system. I don't think that's what's happening though. But okay.
What issue is there with the welfare system?
What?
What issue is there with the welfare system?
Well, specifically, if you're talking about certain means-tested welfare programs like food stamps, SNAPs, what happens is the benefits you get from government are more than could be earned if you get off of welfare, meaning you're incentivized to stay on welfare rather than get a job for yourself.
How much is food stamps a month? How a single person on food stamps, how much do they get a month?
SNAP monthly payments.
How much do they get a month?
Well, currently, SNAP monthly payment for one person is, let's say, $1,000, $869 a month. $1,869.
Where'd you pull that from?
What?
Where did you pull that number from?
www.snapscreamer.com. Snap LGBT.
Yeah. It's like I was able to get $200 a month when I was in college, and that was only because like Obama had like a little stipend on it. Yeah, it's nowhere near 1,000. You are full of shit.
I mean, this is what I picked up when I read up. It might be an inaccurate statistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, the point still stands that there are examples of welfare programs that are
No,
paying
you
more
just
than
you made
a job.
The average monthly benefit is $126 a month. The maximum is $194 a month. You just said people can get SNAP benefits and get more than they can earn. How much do you $194 a month? You said that was more than people could earn.
Yeah, I mean, SNAP is one benefit. There are other forms. There's WIC, there's SNAP, there's
Do you know what WIC is?
Women, infants, and children, specifically for I'm pretty sure that's for single moms or women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then how much is WIC? How much can you get a month for WIC?
WIC monthly payments.
And also, how expensive is a child?
Children get $25 a month. Pregnant, postpartum, breastfeeding clients can get $44 a month. So, fully.
Now, do you think that is more than what you can go out and earn at fucking a minimum wage job?
If you're getting WIC benefits and you get some SNAP benefits and you get other benefits, then it depends. I mean, there's state.
So we're up to like $300 a month for a single mom with a kid, and you're like, they can go out and work, and they're getting more than they can go out and earn from working. Like, do you realize how absurd what you just said is?
Yeah, SNAP and WIC are two programs. Or
like, what else can you get?
Yeah, I can't think of them off the top of my head.
Because there's not.
What?
There's not all these government programs handing out money to poor people. This is what I'm trying to educate you on.
Okay.
You literally said people can get on welfare and get more money than they can go out and earn. Please tell me that you just found out that's a lie.
Okay, yeah, that was a lie. Okay. I mean,
yes.
Maybe.
Yes.
I'd have to read more into it. I don't know how many extra government programs in the state.
There's not.
Yes, states also can have their own welfare programs aside from federal assistance.
Buddy, and like they ain't getting fucking shit from you. See, this plays into. Please tell me that I've now enlightened you that the right-wing thought process that people are taking advantage of the welfare program, that is an absolute myth.
Yeah, no, I'd have to read more into it. So okay.
Oh, so even though you just looked it up and you saw exactly what I'm talking about, and I proved it, you're gonna have to look into
also
it.
Programs to help people pay for housing. People pay for.
Buddy, do you when it comes to like Section 9, people wait for fucking 20 years to get back on to hear back from Section 9.
And Section 8 too.
Section 8, maybe I'm confusing the numbers, man. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. There's not this government handing out money. I wish it was. There should be a government handing out a UBI and taking care of people's housing.
Yeah, UBI is a little bit different than a welfare program, although I still oppose it. But okay.
Well, I don't. But you still oppose it. But you don't know why you oppose it.
Because I generally don't want the government to have more influence of what's in people's bank accounts.
What does that mean, dude? If the government's going to hand me $1,000 a month, I'm for it.
Okay, and I'm not. I mean, you
well, that's because you got your mommy and daddy that you can get money from. But when you get out in the real world, you're going to learn fucking shit is tight out here.
Okay. Well, I think this chat doesn't want me to keep talking, so
they certainly don't. I've given you far too long, but here I will say that you are not a moron. You are just ignorant. You know the difference. Okay. You just aren't aware. You're not educated. And if you will stay on this path, if you will do me a favor and fucking read all fucking 1,000 pages of Howard Zinn.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I'm gonna read all 1,000 pages, but
No,
I'll
read the whole fucking. But dude, why would you tell me like I want to have opinions on shit that's going on in this country, but I'm not gonna go read a book that's gonna educate me?
I mean, I said I'll check out Howard Zinn. I mean, I don't know how long it'll take me, but okay.
Yeah, but if you're gonna start reading it, and be like, oh well, this is just some liberal bullshit, and throw it down, then what's the point, man? Like if you are biased against it already,
read it if it's good.
Oh, it is good. It is. It has like a 4.9 or
Okay,
4.7
I'll read
fucking
it.
star rating. It used to be, or still is, fucking used in classrooms. Yes, everybody wants to find out what that news be doing. They are tired of your bullshit.
Okay, bye.
Getting through to the youngins. That's one of the things that I want to do here. I don't want to yell at anybody. He's already dead. I don't want to yell at anybody at all.